case you haven't heard, Aaron Rodgers doesn't do that whole preseason thing. He thinks these games are not real football. He said, if I do play, great. If it's not, if I don't, great. So that's great for Aaron Rodgers, but there are still some real decisions to be made in Pittsburgh as the Steelers get set to take on the Bills in their final preseason game. The Bills also with some work to do under first-year head coach Joe Brady. So let's welcome back the B-Mac and Ben show as we bring in Bryant B-Mac McFadden and Ben DiNucci to the program to get us set for Thursday night football in the preseason. B-Mac, I want to start right there with Aaron Rodgers, someone who you've spent a lot of time over the last couple of years getting to know and speaking to. It's not surprising that someone who's played for as long as he has doesn't really care about these preseason games, but there's a lot of new around him. So do you think that this is maybe a negative to the rest of the team, not having Aaron Rodgers play in the preseason, or they just kind of have to, that's the nature of the NFL?
You know what, I wouldn't say it's a negative, Haley, Ben. I think it could be a chemistry issue or lack thereof, because to your point, this is a new offense. Arthur Smith is no longer there. Mike McCarthy has come into the building. He's brought his own offensive strategy and scheme, and that's what they've implemented into this offense. Now, Aaron Rodgers is a bit familiar with this offense, but some of the other guys are not. And when you talk about having, and I understand he's been out on the grass throughout the practices, but just seeing it in a preseason action, in my opinion, I think would have done more good than anything, in my opinion, just from the rhythm standpoint. Because, Ben, you know about this as a former quarterback, the chemistry and the flow is very, very important, especially when all 11 guys are trying to get adjusted to something new. As for the Pittsburgh Steelers, if you look at how they get off and rolling in this schedule, of course they have their home opener against Atlanta. That should be a winnable game. And then you have New England, Cincinnati, and Cleveland, right? You have two divisional games in the first 4-game stretch. It's very, very important for them to get off to a good start. And if you see any rust or any disconnect within the flow of the offense, the first thing all of the naysayers will say, well, is they didn't participate one series in preseason play. So for me, I can see either side from Aaron Rodgers because he's such a veteran in this game. But what about the other 10 guys that have to be at their best once the regular season starts? That could be a bit of an issue. So we have to wait and see if the lack of playing in any preseason games could hurt them. But to Aaron Rodgers' point, him as an individual, no, it doesn't mean anything. But I'm more concerned about the other 10 guys on the offense.
You just hit the nail on the head, B-Mac. I heard Adam Thielen talk a couple weeks ago about him being dead scared to walk out to practice because he didn't know what hand signals Aaron Rodgers was going to flash at any second, and he wanted to make sure that he wasn't messing up. So for Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy, we know what they've done in the past, but all they've done the past couple weeks in practice is go up against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So at least for Aaron and for Mike to give this Steelers fandom and this, I think the offense in general, just a peace of mind. I think at least for a drive or two, you would like them to go out there, go through the motions, kind of just make sure everyone's on the same page. We're getting off on the same cadence. We're getting a couple first downs and leading to a couple drives with points on the board. So I understand both sides of it. But the main thing is we got to get out of this game injury free. And for Aaron Rodgers, that's been the biggest thing in the last couple years.
Yeah, that is something to consider when you're 42 playing in the NFL. It is certainly a different feeling out there. On the other side of this one, Ben, we know what the Buffalo Bills are. We know that they are built around Josh Allen, and for so long it's been the Josh Allen and the Joe Brady show, and now that goes on an even bigger scale with Joe Brady taking over as head coach. So if the Super Bowl whispers weren't loud before, feels like they're even louder now. What's that pressure like for Joe Brady?
Guys, I can't remember a time in recent memory in the NFL where we've had a head coach come into his first year on the job and the expectations almost be Super Bowl or bust. And that's really what it's starting to feel like up in Buffalo right now. Let's see, we're taking a look here at the coaches in their first year with the team. We saw Mike Vrabel, Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson make these big first year jumps last year. And this Buffalo Bills team, they weren't 14-3, they weren't 4-13 last year. They weren't 5-12. This Buffalo Bills team was 12-5 in really a stop away in that AFC divisional game against the Broncos from playing the New England Patriots in that AFC championship and having a chance to get to the Super Bowl. So for Joe Brady, this offense and this entire team, I think the expectations are sky high, and certainly it feels like Super Bowl or bust in Orchard Park right now.
I'd like to introduce you to Brian Schottenheimer, or anybody who takes over the Dallas Cowboys as leading into that pressure of getting back to the Super Bowl. But you and I both know, Ben, we don't have time time to get into that. We will talk about our players to watch here, and I'll come to you first. You've got your eye on a former teammate, I shouldn't say a former friend, but a friend and a former teammate in Damar Hamlin.
Yeah, I've got my eye on Bill's safety, Damar Hamlin. He was a opponent of mine in high school in Western Pennsylvania, and then I had the pleasure of playing with him a couple years at Pitt. But I've got my eye on him. He might be the odd man out in this safety room. When you look at who they've got back there, Geno Stone, Cole Bishop, who was their high draft pick a couple years ago. They go and draft Jalen Kilgore in the draft a couple months ago, and you factor in a couple other guys. I think Damar needs to play the best game of the preseason on Thursday night. I think he will, and I think this is an awesome opportunity for him to showcase that he's got a place on this team. He can make plays, go out, make tackles, and when his number's called, he can be a guy that can come in, can be trusted, and can help this defense. So I've got my eyes all over this former teammate of mine Thursday night.
Well, for me, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I have my eyes on Will Howard, right? And you talk about Damar trying to find a way to earn a spot on the roster. The same can be said for Will Howard, and here's why. It's hard for me to believe the Pittsburgh Steelers will keep 4 quarterbacks on the roster. It's hard for me to believe that. It's also hard for me to believe they would be willing to cut ties with Mason Rudolph, and knowing they have a 42-year-old quarterback as a starter in Aaron Rodgers with 2 young quarterbacks that lack experience. So for me, I think Mason Rudolph, because of his experience and also too having starting opportunities in the National Football League, it's safe to say he should be safe. So that puts more pressure on who? Will Howard. Also too, the guy he's competing against, Drew Allar, was drafted by Mike McCarthy and this staff, and he was a 3rd-round pick. So for Will Howard, if you look at what he did in week 2 of the preseason, he got the start, he did not protect the football, threw 2 costly interceptions. Drew Allar didn't really wow you with his numbers, but guess what he did in week 2 of the preseason? He protected Wilson like it was a newborn baby. That's very, very important, especially for young quarterbacks when you're trying to earn the right to be on the roster. So Will Howard, for me, he's going to get another opportunity to get the keys to the car. Let's see what he does with it, because week 2, I feel like he lost some leverage compared to what he gained in week 1 of the preseason.
B-Mac, did you and Ben just switch positions and I didn't know about it? Because I thought Ben was the quarterback and you're over here focused on the player behind center here. And that's kind of
versatility.
The same. You are very versatile. It's kind of the same conversation that we had with the Browns in that last segment in terms of the quarterback room. You're paying attention to Will Howard because, again, this is another team with a lot of young, talented quarterbacks in that room.
No question. It's the same thing. It's a competition between Will Howard and Drew Allar. When Drew Allar was drafted, instantly the conversations that were being had, what's going to happen with Will Howard, right? Remember, a year ago, his rookie campaign was cut short because of an injury. So he didn't really